afternoon, Gilbert. Thank you for hosting this event. We're very happy and pleased to be presenting again. Well, Golden Tag is a silver exploration company. We're located in Durango State in Mexico. We host significant resource that's well over 200 million ounces of silver equivalent, and we have over 115 million ounces of silver only. Go to the next slide. We are one of the largest undeveloped silver deposits. And one of the things that's becoming more important as you see zinc prices increase is that we have over 1.5 billion pounds of zinc in our resource. We'll show you the comparables in a minute, but we are one of the most undervalued assets. And we think that as we continue to do more drilling and talk about the story, that the market will see the value in our project. We have several exploration targets that are ready, and we have been drilling. We'll talk more about the drilling that we have done and the drilling that we continue to do, and we're going to be able to expand our resource and our deposit materially. Next slide. On this slide, we can show you that Golden Tag has one of the largest resources out there. This is comparing just the silver content, and importantly, there has been some acquisitions in the space. You saw that Core sold the La Preciosa deposit recently. Next slide. This slide just shows that our silver resource is being valued at about 14 cents per silver equivalent ounce, and the average of the comps are over 90 cents. So that implies, 6 times upside for our stock price. On the right side of the page, you can see again that in terms of gross metal value, when you calculate how much the value of the different metals are in our deposit, we have over $6.4 billion worth of value in our metal inventory. Next slide. These are the board members and directors. They're, it's all the same folks that have led the turnaround of this business. Next slide. You can see that we've gone through, just like the rest of the market, a little bit of a downturn last summer, but ours was primarily led by 20 million warrants that were exercised. They were legacy warrants that were in the money from 5 years ago before we came into the business. And we've largely placed all of those warrants now into new hands. So we set up a very good base over the last 5-6 months. And we're looking for another good upswing in our stock price as there's more and more interest in silver. We have over $6 million in cash and no debt. Eric Sprott is our largest shareholder. He holds about 19% of the company. Next slide. We're located, as I mentioned, in Durango State, where the yellow star is on the right side of your page. You can see that's the location of our project. And then there is activity in the Velardeña camp. You see the other 3 white stars there. You have Panoles on the far left, which is the huge Mexican miner, private miner. And then also Golden Minerals is in the camp. This camp is very special because it's been in continuous mining for over 100 years. And what that tells you is that there's a lot of metal there, there's a lot of silver there, and it's elephant country. You're going to find really big deposits in this region. And so that's why we're excited to be there. On the top half of this slide, you can see on the far left that in 2012, Panoles just had a little operation right next to us. And then in 2018, our technical team showed Panoles. They brought them Panoles over to our San Diego deposit and showed them the discovery that we made and gave them, our analysis and our view on the interpretation of the opportunity. And they said, wow, this is fantastic. And then since then, they went back after 2018, they went back and drilled up their El Cobre project. And you can see that there's over 120, looks like drill pads that they've put in, actually over 100. And they've made really good discoveries there. That project has gone into their engineering group. And usually when a project goes into the engineering group, that means they're going to put it forward to production. But the key takeaway here is that, again, this is elephant country. We have something big, they have something big, and there's a lot of upside value in this area. So it's a great area to be exploring. Okay, Will, do you want to talk about the resource?
Hi, I'm Will Ansley. The resource is, as Greg mentioned, one of the largest undeveloped silver resources in Mexico, and we're quite proud of that. You get, when you own a share of Golden Tag, a common share of Golden Tag, we like to say that you have ownership of over 1 ounce of silver equivalent. That's how we think of it, per common share outstanding. And we're confident that we can grow that resource, and I hope to demonstrate that to you. The resource is all on CDAR and on our website, but I'd like to point out that approximately 74% of the tonnage in the resource resides in what's known as the Fernandez Zone, which is really the biggest component of the resource. The Fernandez Zone was discovered in 2012, which was quite some time ago, and then the resource was put out in 2013. And since that time, until Greg and I came in and took the company over and recapitalized it, very little work was done on the project in the field anyway, because of the poor silver price, depressed silver price, and the lack of liquidity within the company. Recently, we had an independent group called Oryx Geoscience, very renowned group of geologists, take over our database and review it and come up with a detailed 3D model, independent from our views and our geologists. And this is basically the product of their work. It shows the Fernandez Zone, which is over about 100 million ounces of silver equivalent residing in this shape here with the gold. And they've identified that there's the potential for 3 additional Fernandez sitting within our property. And that's all within about, within a 1.5 kilometer range. And one of the dotted lines is gold by nature, because we've actually already determined that there likely is another Fernandez. It's not just a concept anymore, and I'll talk about that. And that discovery is called the 1849 zone, is located just about 120 meters northwest of the Fernandez zone. A main controlling geologic feature on our property is the central diorite intrusive, which comes up in a cylinder in the middle of this graphic, and it's a controlling feature for the mineralization. And Fernandez is a prime example of that. I'm going to switch to the next slide here. Over on the left side, and I apologize, this is a little confusing and busy, but on the left side is the geologic model that we inherited in 2020 from the resource statement. And you can see the central diorite in green shown in behind, and the Fernandez zone sits and abuts up on the central diorite. And very impressive grades, very impressive widths, world class on this Fernandez zone. You can see this intercept here is a combined between the fringe zone, the endoskarn, and Trovador, which sits beside it. It's almost 300 meters, and combined, what do we say here? It is 320 meters at 164 grams equivalent. And the 1849 resides on the other side of the diorite contact over here. I'm not sure if my cursor can show up on this format, but anyway, on the left-hand side, the top hole is hole 49 and the bottom is hole 18. And there was a 250 meter ellipse that was open between them. And we drilled down into this area, and sure enough, we hit similar grades and styles of mineralization that is found over in the Fernandez zone over here. On the 1849 zone. So we now have a 550 vertical meter extension that's continuous with about 100 grams on average, 100 grams per ton on average in the 1849. So very interesting. A little bit lower grade than the Fernandez zone, but again, it's about 120 meters away, which lends itself to potentially shared infrastructure should the Fernandez zone ever go into development. But I would like to point out that on our way down to drill this target, we hit right from the collar 76 grams over 274 meters of continuous, more or less continuous mineralization, which is wonderful open pit style mineralization sitting directly above the Fernandez zone, which could be a game changer for our project. You know, if we can drill off more intercepts like this and come up with a starter potential pit mineralizations residing over the Fernandez zone, it gives us a real opportunity to attack this with some preferred economics. This is a plan view of the Fernandez zone and the higher grade endoskarn portion of the Fernandez zone at 850 meters. It is controlled by two distinct geologic boundaries, the Mckenzie zone and the Trovador zone. And on the east and west side, it is relatively open. One of the things that perplexes us is this embayment here, which I'll talk about on the next slide. But we've been able to fill in this embayment. But again, on this slide, you can see we've shown all the holes, and they're, when you combine the fringe and the endoskarn, in excess of 200 meters and sometimes 300 meters in length. So it's really impressive, the scale of this continuity of these zones. Yes, it does start a little deep, but it so far has a 700 vertical meter extent, and it's open at depth to the east and the west. As a fellow who's been involved with the development of 7 mines from scratch into commercial production, what we think about is how many ounces per vertical meter do these assets carry in their resource. And what we see with the Fernandez zone is that it has a robust 179,000 ounces of silver equivalent every vertical meter, which places it in line with several operating complexes that are world-class. We've converted that to gold to give you a sense on the right. And what you can see is there's almost 2,400 ounces of what would be gold equivalent in Fernandez every vertical meter. And you can see some of the names there. You know, it lines up very, very well with some world-class names, or even exceeding them. Just the last real slide on the asset and the geology. Here's the embayment in the Fernandez zone shown on the right. And we drilled through here with a hole we released in January, hole 60A. And we were very, very encouraged by the results on this hole. We essentially drilled 322 meters of mineralization at, 323 meters of mineralization at 100 grams per ton. And that is, just to summarize, 3 ounces per ton over in excess of 3 football fields in length. Just a staggering intercept. Last year, we placed it in the top silver intercepts as ranked by an independent group, Miner Deck, and this intercept exceeds that one. So we're looking forward to ranking again, hopefully in 2022. But importantly, on the way down for this, we went through another zone, the Mckenzie zone, where we intercepted 272 grams of silver equivalent over almost 8 meters. And there's a number of other intercepts in the Mckenzie zone that we have to follow up on and evaluate, because that's another key zone that's closer to surface and has higher grades and nice mineable widths. Sticking out at the bottom of the embayment, which is where the target was coming through here, we got a very high grade intercept, well, not comparable to the Mckenzie, but for the bulk mineralization, we're intersecting 142 grams of silver equivalent over almost 92 meters, sticking out of that embayment down there. So it goes to show you that there's a number of high grade intercepts coming out past the resource shape, and we're confident that these drill holes will increase the higher grade zone when we go back and evaluate a resource update in the future. And you can see this area is essentially 100 meters wide, this embayment, and the mineralization extends 50 meters from the known wireframes or shape as currently contemplated. So we're looking forward to a nice boost in our ounces in the endoskarn in that particular area alone. Some other results from past, number of really great intercepts extending the Fernandez zone, both a little bit above and extending it out to the side. Greg, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, so this is these are some of the highlights from Golden Tag. Obviously, we could talk longer on the project, but drilling continues. We're having, as Will outlined, we're having very good success on the drilling. As you know, silver is one of the top precious metals out there, but also there is industrial demand for silver. It's one of the most, if not the most conductive metal. And so a lot of the, the greening of our economies is being done with silver and nickel and copper. Mexico is a great place to invest because if you want silver, it's the biggest silver producing country in the world. Next slide. This slide just gives a little bit more information, a little bit more in depth on silver. Sprott, one of the key silver investors, talks a lot about it and how it's accounting for over 125 million annual ounces being produced per over the last 10 years, and this demand for automotive use. Any questions?
Yeah, yes. Here from, let's go with Aswar here. You said, can you give us an update from the latest drill program on your San Diego project?
Right. So as we discussed, we've been able to extend some of the key mineralized zones with very long and intercepts with very high, very good grade for our deposit. We've been able to extend the endoskarn on the southeastern side and also on the western side. So both on the east and the west side, the deposit remains open. We've been able to put in a couple holes higher up in the system, closer to surface, and we're getting some reasonable mineralization there. So that's been very good. And then also we're testing the Mckenzie zone, and we already hit some pretty good mineralization there. So please look for additional press releases on those results.
Yes, this one from Alawang here. The recent press releases announcing the impressive results on the drill holes. And can you give us a picture of how this compared to other silver exploration projects in your similar to your stage?
So there's a very good analog, Discovery Silver, that also gets very long intersections of this kind of grade of material. They're probably about 3 or 4 years ahead of us. But you know, as we mentioned, we were one of the top silver drill results of last year, and we think we've done even better this year. 272 meters over, ounces of or grams of silver equivalent over 8 meters, and then another intersection of 100 grams over 323 meters. So those are very large intersections of good grade. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg and Will.